Hello, and welcome everyone to a Farming Finances 2.0 presentation. My name is Christy, and I'm the Agronomy Agent with CSU Extension in Pueblo County. Today's topic is somewhat of a follow-up from a presentation given earlier this year regarding finances on the farm. Today, we're going to take a closer look at profitability, what it is, and how it can impact your farming business. One thing to note, extension programs are available to all without discrimination. With that, let's get started. It's pretty fun and to put a little garden together each summer and share your produce with your neighbors and your friends. Some people might even bring their backyard veggies to a farmer's market to earn a little extra cash. There are, on the other hand, though, people whose whole job or livelihood is based on the ability to grow and raise agricultural products and then sell those products to, at the very least, break even. Farming and agriculture in general is becoming more and more difficult with rising prices around every corner. Farmland has skyrocketed, forcing out smaller farmers who cannot afford to expand. Crop markets are in constant flux, and drought is constantly looming. Farmers are, however, quite resilient and are in it to win it. They somehow prevail and may even make a few dollars here and there. One aspect of farming that is critical in making it is being fully aware of the farm's financial position. This means understanding profit and profitability. So what is profit? Well, profit, as we will discuss it today, is the amount of money a farm or any working person, I suppose, takes home. It's the amount left over after all expenses and debts have been paid from the sale of the good of the products. The profits earned may be for some the income they take and use for the care of personal items, or it may be put back towards the farm business in various ways, either through expansion or some sort of savings, a variety of different things. Farms have many recurring and new costs, so profit margins are often limited or small. Making a profit is certainly good and should be every farmer's goal. This is not the only measure of financial success or failure on the farm, though. We're going to take a look at an example real quick and calculate profit. We will then use this information to look at the next aspect of finances, and that's profitability. So let's pretend I run a farming operation. It's a 100-acre hay farm with 10 ewe lamb pairs here in Pueblo County. And in total, with all assets and liabilities, my current market value of my operation is equal to $750,000. That sounds like a good number. If I wanted to sell, I'd be doing all right, I think. Anyway, this 1,000-foot view, though, gives me exactly that, a view of my farm overall, and I have no better understanding of what is creating all of that value or how I could increase that value. This slide shows a breakdown of all of my expenses in annual totals. It also shows income and profit. So let's break it down. It does not include purchase of any equipment or any assets at this time. From looking at it, we can see that labor is a major expense, and so are the loans and leases. These are large chunks of money that I have expenses in. I also haven't given myself a salary in this breakdown. And so based on my total income, I'm able to net profit approximately $21,646. This feels like a decent amount of money, and I'm certainly profiting, so not coming out in the negative at least. However, personal expenses will most likely eat up most of that $21,000 quickly. So my farm is making a profit, but is it profitable? We should probably take a quick look at things that propel or hinder a farm from being profitable. This includes assets and liabilities. Assets are all of the things of value on the farm. All of the farmland, the irrigation water or water rights, the equipment. Remember, though, equipment does depreciate. Livestock, the hay that I produce every year. And then the liabilities are all of the things on the farm that are being paid off or may cause extra money to be spent, either for repair, replacement, etc., including any loans or items that are being rented or borrowed. And then one other thing to think about is the human aspect. My farm has one employee. That employee and myself may get injured, which is a big liability. It's a major liability, and it's hard to calculate, unfortunately, as part of total investment because it is so unpredictable, but it certainly falls under that liability category. Speaking of unpredictability, on a farm, like most other places and businesses, there are uncontrollable factors that come into play. Weather can be quite unpredictable at times, and pressure from drought pushes harder onto the agriculture every season. Markets go up and down, especially in commodities markets like in grain crops and livestock feed. Another turbulent factor in farming are the risks that farmers take to grow a crop each season. This is not the life and limb kind of risk, but that which involves more investment, time, and effort to make the business profitable. Farming is inherently risky because there are so many uncontrollable aspects. And so can a farm take on more risk? Sometimes the saying high risk equals high reward is true, and that gamble is worth it. But this is not always true, and high risk can end in disaster or losing the farm business. This is why it's very important to know the financial stability or not of a farming business, looking not only at profit, but more importantly, at profitability. One other important thing to make a side note of is financial record keeping. For your financial records should also include a farm balance sheet. The balance sheet provides a picture of your farm's financial position on a specified date. The picture is painted by describing all of the assets owned by the business and listing all of the liabilities or financial obligations to others. The balance sheet is also known as the net worth statement. A well-prepared balance sheet can provide an objective measure of farm business growth, liquidity, solvency, and risk-bearing capacity. All of these factors are going to play into whether your farm is profitable, not necessarily just making a profit, but whether it's profitable. So what is profitability? If it's not net worth or profit or, money at the end, what is it? It's the relationship of profits to opportunity cost. So profitability looks at many facets and aspects of the farming operation and looks to see if the inputs that are made are actually worth it. If you invest in something, is it actually giving you good return? Is it actually providing for you and making your farm better? Profitability measures the efficiency and the applicability of the farm in the present state and time for the given context or scenario. Not every farm is the same. Small farms are going to have different means of determining profitability or different things that they use to determine that. Large farms might be looking at a whole farm picture or looking at just certain acreages or something like that. So different farms are going to have different things. You need to know the context of your farm and how it fits. Small farms with small profitability make sense, but large farms with small profitability doesn't make as much sense. They should really review their finances and just determine how they can increase their profitability. As mentioned previously, knowing or understanding the farm's profitability will help the farmer run the business more efficiently and will have better success in the long term. The greater the profitability, the more likely the farm will be able to come through turbulent times and succeed at a high profit margin. When calculating profitability, a farmer can take a whole farm approach, looking at aspects of the entire farm rolled into one. That's like labor and salary and investments all added up together. Or each farming facet can be broken down into singular parts, and those pieces are analyzed specifically and very intentionally for the profitability from that aspect. Like I mentioned, on a large farm, I might be looking at the entire farm's acreage, or if they are trying to get down a little bit more nitty gritty, they might look at just a certain set of acreage. Maybe they grow hay in this corner and corn in the other corner, and they're just looking at the profitability of the corn. So you can break it down in those different facets where you can look at it as a whole. This statement from the University of Florida Extension kind of sums it all up. Global competition, changing government regulations, and fluctuating consumer demands make the risk in agriculture greater than ever. We just discussed risk, and that farming is always a risk. The crucial question is not whether your operation is making a profit, but whether your operation is profitable and how profitable. Are you earning a sufficient rate of return to compensate for the risk you are taking? Basically, you're putting all of yourself on the line. Is what you're receiving back worth it? And sometimes that's a theoretical question that we have to ponder about, things that are maybe less monetarily based. Time, how much effort you put in. Are you missing all of your kids' basketball games because you're constantly on the farm? Is the farm giving you back something that you're missing, right? So lots of things to think about. We're going to continue talking about the money aspect of things, but it does help us think a little bit more in depth. So there's a myriad of ways that profitability can be calculated. One of the most common ways is to determine return on investment, or we'll call it ROI. This is a percentage measure of how much is gained back for the time, effort, or money put into a part of the farm or the whole farm. It's calculated by subtracting the total gain or the profit made from the investment by the cost of the investment, and then divide the cost of the investment, and then divide by the cost of the investment. Multiply this value by 100, which will produce the percentage of the ROI. There's no real reference point for ROI to say whether the value is good or bad because of the extreme variability of this equation. Return on investment has so much room for flexibility that no one scale or measure fits it to actually give a good measure. So you really kind of have to use this ROI, start out knowing that this ROI is going to give you a value, and then you're going to have to use that value to expound on other facets of your farm and understand better on your farm what's going on. So each farm may use different aspects to calculate their ROI, and so nothing is quite comparable. However, if a farmer does calculate an ROI initially, they can then use that value as a baseline to determine if they are increasing or decreasing in profitability as they make adjustments in additions and subtractions on their farm. Other options include looking at the rate of return of farm assets or equity, and the operating profit margin rate. These other calculations take into consideration other farming aspects, and it can get really specialized and very complex. And so these are a really, really good measure of profitability. And they really, really get down even more in depth to look at how a farm is operating. ROI is overall pretty general and basic. It's a fairly easy equation to use, pretty plug and play, especially if you're looking for just a quick way to look at things and maybe one aspect here and one aspect there, see what's kind of going on. If you're having a real hard time and you need to break it down even further, then you'll need to look at some other aspects, some more in-depth aspects, and use rate of return on farm assets, rate of return on farm equity, and operating profit margin rates. So you can get a little bit more in-depth with those things. Let's come back to my farm example. And when I'm thinking about profitability, I want to think about what my goals are. What am I trying to achieve? Short term, long term, anything. I just need to know, what am I doing this for? And really for me, that means making sure my farm is viable for generations to come. And also I would really like to make a better profit. Then I can go on vacation once in a while. Anyway, looking at the farm as a whole, calculating the ROI, I had a profit margin of $21,646 and a total expense of $63,150. Dividing those values and multiplying by 100, I get a return on investment of 34%. Unfortunately, that value would mean nothing to me if I had no reference point, but I'll give you a little more backstory. Last year, I had an ROI of 44%, but I lost half of my herd this past season, and so I can now understand a little bit why my return on investment has decreased. I understand more that my sheep are actually bringing in that though my sheep are not bringing in a large profit value, they're not the sale of the meat of a sheep isn't going to bring me gobs and gobs of money, but it is making me more profitable to have that other aspect as part of my farm. Selling hay is great. That actually brings in more profit and more money. But without having the sheep, I see that my profitability, the efficiency of my farm, the ability of my farm to move along long term goes down when I have less sheep, right? So they're helping my farm be more profitable. Let's take another example. Let's say I need to make more money, right? I need to. I want to go on that vacation. Anyway, so I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to purchase more property through a farm loan. This particular piece of property is going to cost $20,000. If I calculate ROI next season and I calculate the profit, I get $200 return for pretends, then I have an ROI of 1% for this particular venture. If I'm lucky though, and I profit $2,000, I get an ROI and it increases to 10%. So I haven't bought this property yet, but I really need to think long and hard. How can I make this investment give me a higher rate of return? How can I make the profit of 2,000 compared to the 200 so that my ROI increases at least for this particular investment? What can I do to make the purchase worth it? And as we get close to the end of this presentation, we should consider ways to improve profitability. And again, bear in mind, every farm is different. Every operation is going to be doing something different, is going to have different factors that play a part, different things, growing different crops, raising different livestock, different amounts of family pressure and labor issues and drought, and all of these things are just going to be they're always going to be part of farming. But things that might help improve profitability, improve the reason why you farm, improve your long-term ability, your efficiency, your ability to have a little bit more luxuries in life, whatever it happens to be, whatever your goal is. Profitability is quite flexible, and there's lots of ways to improve it. So first of all, improve your financial record keeping. Be sure to track everything. This goes back to that balance sheet we talked about. Keep a written record on everything that comes in and goes out, and this will help to allow you to know how your money is being used and for what purposes it's being used. Conduct a basic financial analysis. So even if you just quick pull out a calculator, throw up some numbers, calculate that ROI, and either use other forms of profitability. Analyze what's good and get rid of what's bad. Control your costs. Do some sort of keeping your costs as minimal as possible without suffering quality, of course. Cost share or get into some sort of cooperative so that not all the burden of cost is on you. Increase your returns. Make value-added items from your products. This can sometimes increase your return on what it takes to grow and make the product. And then change the mix of your enterprises. Diversify your operation. Don't put all of your eggs into one basket, basically. Do some sort of agrotourism, or you've got a tomato farm, make it a tomato and cucumber farm and advertise that you make the best salad fixings or whatever happens to be. But look at your profit, see the value of your net worth, what's coming into your pocket, and then see how you can improve your profitability. Not just increase that value, but truly make your farm more profitable, more efficient. So overall, to stay competitive in the ag world, it's highly beneficial to take a deeper look into profits and profitability. Thanks very much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact the Extension office at 719-583-4366. Thanks. Here are some of the resources that you can use that I pulled a lot of the information from. I've also have some resources in the chat that I will pull up in just a moment when I stop sharing the screen. I just wanted to give a chance for you to take a look at these resources. All right. So let me pull up the chat. Over here in the chat, we have the CSU Extension Ag Business Management team, and they've got a whole bunch of resources and a whole bunch of information and that you can use, that you can get some information, contact various people, learn about different aspects of business management in agriculture. The other one is kind of a cool crop tool, kind of helps you break down different financial aspects of your farm and farm management, including livestock and vegetable production. And then the attachment here, this PDF attachment, is another resource from University of Maryland Extension, kind of going through those how to be more profitable aspects that we discussed in this. And with that, we will end there. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.